welcome back to another edition of Stripe Sox Podcast from two completely different locations than we initially started out, which is always more fun with travel. This is your first host, Orange Crush,
And this is your other host, Deuce.
and we're back after a little week hiatus. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed our little side cast, Jonathan introducing himself. As today, we're going to go all about pitching because, as many of you know who are baseball fans, that is probably the most important position in all of the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Certainly not my absolute favorite position, just with me being an outfielder, I tend to lean that way. But yeah, I would have to say pitcher is definitely the most important.
So, there's actually been some pretty good pitching performances recently. I mean, I know that for your home Tigers, Tariq Skubal's been on an absolute tear.
Skubal is doing well, and that's good because of what I predicted earlier this season. I'm not going to say it, but I'm not going to jinx it. But if you watch the first episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I am quite stoked for that. Unlike my rookie of the year for the NL pick.
Yeah, I mean, we
It's
both screwed that one up.
yeah, but injuries happen. But yeah, Scooble so far is 6-0, which pitching wins really don't matter that much. It's all on what the offense does with a good pitcher. But for the people who do care about it, there's that. He has a 1.8 ERA through 55 innings pitched. He's only allowed 35 hits, 13 runs, with only 11 of them being earned. 3 homers, only walked 8 batters, struck out 66, and hit one. He is playing out of his mind. He has an ERA plus of 224. So he is 124% better than your average pitcher, since that's the normalized stat. His FIP is a 195, so slightly above his ERA. For those who don't know what FIP is, it is fielding independent pitching. I think I briefly covered it last video, but if not, it only takes into consideration your home runs allowed, how many strikeouts you have, walks. I think hit batters is the last one.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be it.
yeah. And then whip, his whip is a 0.782. So he is just absolutely cruising right now. And that is what I like to see as a Tigers fan. And I know a lot of other Tigers fans are really excited about this too.
I mean, speaking of just absolutely great performances, I mean, we have to bring up Paul Skeens making his debut. I mean, during our off week, we didn't have a chance to record, but this past start against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, which is obviously going to be as rowdy as ever, he was able to go in there, calm the nerves, 6 innings, 11 strikeouts, and no hits. How much more dominant in a road debut can you possibly have, especially one as I would say rowdy and kind of not necessarily dangerous, but in that kind of area for a road crowd to face or to be in.
Yeah, it's definitely a very hostile environment. So for him to go in there and do that, and is just crazy. But something I do also want to point out is both of his starts so far have been against the Cubs, once at home and once on the road, which is very interesting because it doesn't always happen like that for debuts. Rarely, I would say. I don't have exact numbers on that, but I wouldn't say that happens often. And to have dominance over two different starts against the same team is really impressive, especially from a rookie who you don't always see that kind of dominance. You know, you have like Steven Strasburg in recent memory, and that's about it.
But I mean, Skeens had all the hype pretty much as Strasburg did too as he came up. Like this dude is a must purchase ticket attraction. Anytime he's on the mound, you need to go see him pitch. You know that he's going to be dominant. This is why these pitchers are staying longer in college are all of a sudden getting the opportunity to pitch almost immediately. As we saw with the White Sox with Garrett Crochet, his first season, right at the same season he got drafted, he was immediately in that bullpen. And
Yep.
that's what college experience does. It really gives you more time to adjust your stuff and get ready for pro level ball. Versus if you're coming out of high school, like you need a lot more time in the minors to really develop, get your craft, get your routine down. And this is not like trying to be a push for going to college and getting that experience versus going to just coming right out of high school. If you get an MLB contract, you get an MLB contract. I'm not disputing that. But just how good he's been just because of his experience at LSU, especially on a championship contending team, that he's going to bring that experience to a Pirates team, which is obviously rebuilding and is now kind of in their trying to turn the corner type of phase.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you totally on pitchers being the ones who can really take advantage of college. Not that batters can't, but it's a lot more difficult to translate a college game batting wise to an MLB game just because of the difference in pitching. They're both really good, but MLB pitchers are another level. If you are a really good pitcher in college, especially somebody like a Skeens, who is just that guy, a lot of the times that can translate to MLB very quickly. Um, Really, your only guys who move up quickly as batters are like Nolan Schnold or Chenul of the Angels last year, and he was solid, but there's a reason you don't see that happening very often. Um, yeah, because it's just very hard to hit a ball when it's being thrown, upper 90s, 100 miles per hour, and especially with these veterans who are just so good.
And I guess kind of speaking on that with like their new debuts and how would it translate, it seems like we bring him up every single time, Shota and Managa, but he right now is the best pitcher in the National League. And I don't know if you can really dispute it. 6 starts, 5-0. Obviously, his one against the Braves in Atlanta was not his best star of the year, but still was able to walk away with 0 earned runs, actually 0 runs allowed, in fact. And his ERA on the season sits at 0.84 through 9 games. And literally in those 9 games, he's allowed a total of 5 earned runs with a whip of 0.91 and opponent batting average of 200. Like that's just
It's
outer dominance coming over from the MVP. And again, we say this all the time. I said this is my last week candidate for, or 2 weeks ago candidate for overreaction, but those numbers are Cy Young numbers.
They definitely are. Really at this point, it's just how long can he sustain it? I don't think he's going to sustain the below 1 ERA for that much longer. I'd be surprised if he did through the All-Star break because it's just so hard to do that. I would love to see it, don't get me wrong, but it's just so hard to do because eventually you're going to have a bad day. And it's just when's that going to fall? Um, but it's also a little bit crazy to see how his game has translated versus Yamamoto's because Imanaga is pitching a lot better and having a lot better results. And, all the hype was with Yamamoto all off season. And I think I even at the beginning of the series said that Yamamoto probably is going to be the better out of the two. But I'm not upset with seeing Imanaga be that guy.
Still, like even he said bad day. A bad day for him was the start against the Braves. And he still, because it was 7 hits and only pitched 5 innings, still had eight
Hmm.
strikeouts, still allowed 0 earned runs. So if that's a bad day, look out.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day where he gives up like 3-4 in a game, but he hasn't done it yet. So it's literally just when will he do it? Or if he'll do it, I guess. There's also that he could just keep this up, and that would be insane. It's video game numbers at this point.
I mean, he
Yeah.
also is a super fun dude. He loves city of Chicago. And I mean,
Mhm.
Cubs or Sox, if you love the city, I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, he literally chose his walk-in song as Chelsea Dagger because he went to a Blackhawks game and saw how crazy the fans are. That is the exact
I
reason
did.
why.
That's interesting.
Like, how could you not like that guy? He literally embraces the city and the
The
other
man,
sports culture.
he's a man of the people.
As you were saying with Yamamoto and Shota comparison, it's like about 100 mil compared to 300 million.
Hmm.
And the quality has been off the charts in terms of difference, with the difference in it.
Yeah, it really is a stark difference. And, you know, it's not what a lot of people expected, but again, I'm for it. Because yeah, if we knew always what was going to happen in sports, why would we watch?
Exactly.
And
I mean,
storylines like this is just interesting.
it's the old expression, like sports are so much better, are one of the only things that you have to watch live because you don't know what's going to happen. Even if it's recorded, like the game already happened, you can go and find a box score. Or if you're watching on a tape delay, game could be over. But you watch it live, you have that same natural reaction and it's original, where it's not necessarily like, oh, here's going to be a home run. And I know there's going to be a home run here. So I can just be like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a nice home run, a good shot. I want to see how deep it is. But if you're sitting at Yankee Stadium, for example, and Aaron Judge hits a tape measure shot 460 feet, you're going to be going nuts because, like, holy crap, that ball was absolutely smoked. You could hear it off the bat. It's the shotgun sound. And it's like that's
Yeah,
just something that you can't necessarily replicate with live sport unless it's live. And that's like the
right.
huge beauty of sports.
Exactly. And I want to pose a question to you here with how he's playing so far. Imanaga, do you think he could do Cy Young and Rookie of the Year?
I think if he wins Cy Young, he is the rookie of the year, and it's no debate.
Right, that's kind of my thought too, unless something crazy happens in the National League.
I mean, the only other player I can think of that's been like near his level ish in the National League has been Jackson Merrill, just because he's leading all National League rookies in hitting.
Yeah, but even so, like he's been good, but it's hard to compete with such good numbers.
That I
Um,
mean, it's that's why I said that's what we started with. Pitching is
yes.
so important. It has such a different level than being a
Yep.
hitter.
Yep. That is very, very true. And right now I'm trying to think of other guys. I guess, and I know that Ellie De La Cruz is not eligible for the Rookie of the Year, but if he was, I think that
He'd
would
be
really,
winning it right now.
I think it would be the only person who could kind of top it. Cause like that's, yeah. I'm not going to say Shohei because Shohei's been in the league for a while and
He's
everything.
not a
He's
rookie either.
right, right. Well, Ellie's not either. He's not rookie eligible anymore because he played enough games last year and was on the roster for long enough. So I'm just trying to pick like guys who are pretty fresh still.
Is it
So
Andy Pajes on the Dodgers?
who?
Andy Pajes?
Oh, yeah, he is a rookie. I believe he is, but he's not playing to the same level,
Hmm.
In any other year, he would definitely be in the conversation. Jackson Merrill would be your leader right now, but yeah. And I do think to a certain extent, like you have to contextualize that these like Imanaga and Yamamoto and even Young Ho Lee, who we talked about earlier and who I think you also picked as your
I
NL
did.
rookie. Yeah. Um, how all of these guys are older because they played professionally elsewhere. So they are rookies, but like they aren't really at the same time. They're rookies to MLB, but not to professional ball. So like it still counts for the awards, but it's a little bit different, It's not like this 20, 22-year-old kid, going out there and winning it. It's these guys in their mid to upper 20s. And not that you don't have that even with homegrown talent, just from the farm systems, but yeah, it's just different when you've already played professionally and not knocking them. But it just with all of them coming over this year, it's going to be next to impossible for any of these other guys too, just because they are so good already.
It seemed like
You
that we're
know,
both in agreement, whether it's college or coming over from MVP, KBO.
yep,
It's experience. That's what these
it
ball players
is.
get, and that's why they're so much better when they come in
Yeah,
and more prepared.
yeah. It's like when Ichiro came over. He won Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season because he was already good in Japan and had pro experience. He's just moving over here and was a rookie here. Again, not knocking them. They are amazing players. It's just a different type of rookie than you're typically used to and you typically think of when you think rookie of the year. Um, just because of them being an international signing, through the posting system. Because international signing can also be kids like 15, 16, 17 years old. So that's why I wanted to specify the posting system. And yeah, with all of them coming over, it's hard to beat. Look at how dominant Kodai Senga was when he came over.
Mhm.
Great. He didn't win, or I don't believe he won Rookie of the Year, right? He got hurt, didn't he?
He did get hurt, but I think he still won. No, Corbin Carroll was rookie of the
Did he
year.
win?
Corbin Carroll was rookie of the year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he placed like second or third.
Yes, he was in the top three.
Yeah. Which arguably, had he not gotten hurt, he could have won. I know I was rooting for Corbin Carroll, but that's because I loved Corbin Carroll as a player. Um, but yeah, these guys who come over who have all this experience, like you were saying with Paul Skeens in college, the extra experience helps a lot. Especially when you're playing at a pro level, which is comparable to the MLB for the most part. Some people will be like, oh, it's a triple A level. I would say it's basically an MLB level. Like at the very minimum, it's at least a quadruple A.
Yeah.
But I would say it's basically comparable besides park dimensions and the ball. That's really like the big difference. But yeah.
Yeah, and with that, that's a great fan favorite as we move on to fan favorite section. Randomest poll. We love this segment.
Which it's going to be random, but I will say it would be very fitting with the episode if it landed on pitcher. So I'm kind of rooting for that today.
See, you were reading my mind because I thought that same exact thing.
But we're not going to rig it. We're still going to do it randomly.
That's how you know it's not rigged, is that it immediately went to outfield.
Again, okay.
Yay. Round of applause.
Okay.
Outfield.
Who's the defending champ on this? I think it's me because I think we
Yeah.
tied last, right?
Yeah, you did. I
Or
was
I won one of the two.
Yeah, I had no idea who you picked, so
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember now. I picked the guy that you're just like you win. All right,
yeah.
so you go first.
Yeah, one of these times the defending champ is gonna end up going first.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Bobby
1.
Bonilla. I think he was an outfielder.
We'll count it. That is random. I might have a more random one here though. Juan Encarnacion.
So I do indeed know who Juan Encarnacion was.
Well, yeah, but also everybody knows who Bobby Bonilla is also.
Oh, if I was wrong, I get another pick.
No, I don't think that's how that works.
We never established that. Oh no,
I
it says he was an outfielder. He was an outfielder. Okay.
He was okay. I don't know if a guy who has his own date named after him is necessarily super random.
But nobody remembers the playing days. More people remember him being the day.
He had one of the biggest contracts in baseball at the time and was actually a really good player until he got to the Mets and kind of stunk it up during that tenure before they released him.
That's true.
Yeah. So he was a pretty notable player. Not that Juan Encarnacion also wasn't a decently notable player, but how about this? Do you want to settle it by WAR?
You know what? Yeah, let's go with War.
Okay. Give me a second to. Do you want to look up Bonilla and wait, are we using baseball reference or Fangraphs?
Apparently everyone likes Fangraphs, so let's go Fangraphs.
Okay. I would say that is a pretty like distinct difference. It's more so with pitchers than batters. So Juan Encarnacion played 10 seasons in MLB from 1997 to 2007. He played for the Tigers, the Florida Marlins, again, and St. Louis Cardinals. His total Fangraphs WAR is 6.8.
Well, Bobby Bonilla had a bunch of plus seasons with Pittsburgh and then was completely fell off the edge of the map. But his seasons in Pittsburgh carried. He had 32.
Ooh, I knew he was going to be higher. I honestly thought Juan Encarnacion was going to be higher than the 6.8. I was expecting at least in the teens, if not the low 20s. And I was expecting Bonilla to be right around the 20s than when I read Encarnacion's, but okay. I kind of like the rule of who has the less war.
Yeah, I gotta. Don't worry. Next
Tiebreaker.
next outfield one, I got you. I'm gonna get you on the next outfield.
Okay. Okay. We'll see. We'll see.
I have a good one. Well, like I said earlier, I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame, and so there I saw a lot of great pitchers, and it got me thinking. Well, not just pitchers, it's great players in general, the best of the best. And so got me thinking of a good question for this day. And as we're speaking of pitchers, what is the most either unhittable or most effective pitch all time? By which player? For example, I'll give you an example while you're thinking. For fat, you could say Nolan Ryan fastball. Because at that time, when Nolan Ryan was hitting 98, 99, 100, that was pretty much unhittable.
That is true. I do want to say while we're talking about Nolan Ryan real quick, a lot of people talk about his dominance and his command, but he also leads MLB in all-time walks, and his strikeout to walk ratio is not actually that good. So the people who always argue that he had amazing command, he had decent command. So do want to tell us that I still love Nolan Ryan as like a story and a player and stuff. Apparently he's not always the greatest person I've heard from some people. Um, but it also depends on what you're asking for. Like a lot of the people I've heard is that he's really not great with signing stuff, which understandable, you know. But yeah, that's basically where I've heard that he's not super great. Um, but yeah, I do want to toss in that because a lot of people are like, oh, he's one of the best command pitchers of all time. And it's like, no, he's not. Um, am I stalling right here? A little bit, yes. Because for me, like I could go Mariano Rivera's cutter. That was a pretty dominant pitch. Or a very dominant pitch, I should say. Um, but for me, I don't necessarily believe that one pitch is like an entire pitcher. Some guys they can do it. Um, but for me, I personally love stuff like tunneling. Um, and being able to string together different pitches to fool the batters that way. Throwing a two-seam fastball and then follow it up with a cutter to the same spot, but have it peel different ways, or a slider, thrown in the same tunnel. It makes it really hard for a batter to hit it, and that stuff just fascinates me, and I love it.
It just
Even
sounds
when I
like you're
play
talking about Greg Maddux.
talk about what
Greg Maddux.
a little bit, but even when I play MLB The Show, I tunnel my pitches. Um, just because like I feel like that's a more important part of the game, one than people give credit and realize. But also, I think in order to have such a dominant pitch, you kind of have to set it up with other stuff. Um, Again, with the exception of basically Mariano Rivera, and I guess you could argue a lot of knuckleballers. There aren't very many people who can live off of solely one pitch. You kind of need a complementary pitch, at least to keep the batter guessing. If you have two or three complementary pitches, you're golden if you can use them right to set up your put away pitch. Or even if it's just a fastball, to just set that up and keep them guessing. I will say probably some of my favorites to watch on movement would either be Kodai Senga's forkball, which I don't know how that thing moves like it does. Really, I don't. Or Emmanuel Clase or Johan Duran's cutters, just because of how quick they are and how much they move. Um, is it Duran who has like the
The
95
splinker.
hour changeup also?
It's the splinker.
Oh yes, yes. I was like, it's
That
like
was
a
the pitch I
changeup
thought
or
you were
something.
gonna say when you said Johan Duran.
Well, he's one of the pitchers though where it's like his repertoire is just so unique, you know, to have such a fast cutter and then the splinker, which just also is really fast for a splitter or a sinker. Um, just being able to throw that fast with the movement on the pitches, it makes him really hard to hit when he can hit the zone. Because he does have a little bit of command issues, but also I would too if I was throwing that hard. So I'm not gonna say I wouldn't. Um, I guess also early career Oldest Chapman was another one that was basically unhittable. Because no one was throwing, 104, 105 consistently. It was like a once in a while somebody might hit 103 or 104, and then for him to just be like, "Yeah, we're just gonna throw this all the time." So those are kind of be mine. They are more recent. Um, but for me, I do firmly believe that it kind of takes a repertoire and not just one pitch to make a pitcher. Um, so that's kind of why. And yeah, some people might say it's a cop out, but it's just a different philosophy on my part.
Yeah, because I was gonna say three of them as you went through. I had three pitches, and one of them was the Orion fastball, Mariano cutter, Steve Carlton slider. And like these things, like you could know that they're coming. Doesn't matter what count it is, you know it's coming, and you're still not gonna touch it.
Yep, yeah, those are fair. So, of course, with me agreeing with Mo's cutter, like we're both agreeing there. But yeah, really a pitcher who you know what's coming and you can't stop it is what you want. Um, but yeah, I think people eventually catch up to that most of the time. So that's why I like the repertoire approach. Um, but yeah, that's about what I'm gonna say.
And then as you were saying that, also made me think of another one. During his prime, Clayton Kershaw curveball.
Yes, yes, I will agree on that one. That was one of the nastiest pitches. Just how much break it had is just crazy. One pitcher I do want to quickly say, that has a repertoire that was really effective. Zach Greinke.
Mm-hmm.
He's had so many different pitches, and just when you think you're maybe figuring him out, he tosses in an eephus, you know, or some new thing or something that he hasn't thrown in 6, 7 months. So he's an interesting player to say the least. Fun fact, at one point he told his, I think it was AAA manager. It was one of his managers, I think it was at AAA, that he was quitting and he wanted to be a garbage man because he didn't like the spotlight and all the pressure and everything. And like he was pitching out of his mind at the time. It's not like he was playing bad. He was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go be a garbage man. And
Yeah,
he finally got talked out of it. But
I definitely vaguely remember that story.
yeah, that and another, he also kicked around mowing lawns. But yeah, it's just crazy to hear that, especially from somebody as good as Zach Greinke. But yeah, he's a real example of, the repertoire pitcher who just has everything under the sun and will throw it when needed.
And you can even say that with Yu Darvish, who's still going.
Yep. Thank you. I was trying to think of who it was that is currently going. I could not place my finger on it. Thank you. You Darvish is also, yeah. Because was he have like 8, 9, 10 pitches?
I believe the count was 8 according to Sunday Night Baseball.
Okay, yeah, it's some crazy amount. And it's not like he's bad at any of them, really. Like they're all quite effective pitches.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I would hate to be a batter against him. Because it's like, what do you look for?
There's
You
a reason
know,
neither of us are playing anymore.
that is true. That is true. Um, yeah, but how do you really approach that if he has 8 pitches?
But for me, being decent hitter, I always went up there and I knew what was going to be thrown. I faced pitchers that had 5, 6 pitches, 7
Yep,
pitches, and I'd tunnel on one, and it would always be the fastball. I
yep.
was never a strikeout. I was not a big strikeout guy. So
Me.
I would I would tunnel the fastball. If I saw a fastball, that's when I do my more power swing. If I saw something moving, I'd try to just put the ball in play and force the other team to make an error.
See, I was basically always just trying to put the ball in play. Um, Basically no matter what. But yeah, I agree with you. The fastball tends to be the pitch that I was looking for the most. Yeah, I think a lot of people do, you know. That or I guess a hanging like curveball or something. Or a hanging slider.
I think I
But
had in my career 1 home run on a hanging breaking ball. Everything else was off a fastball.
okay. Yeah. I couldn't even tell you at this point what all the pitches were that I got like my best hits off of. But it for me it literally was just go up there and try to put it in play. I hated striking out. I'm a very old school style player. I covered this in my about me video. To like the big announcement. We can link it in the card here. Definitely check it out. It's only like a 10-minute video, but a lot of good information about me and upcoming stuff on the channel.
Yeah, and speaking on upcoming stuff, that's where we are going to hit pause and take a break from this episode as we hope that you enjoyed our little mini pitching special, which I think was always fun. I love breaking down pitching, even though I was never one.
Yeah, I haven't pitched in a long time, but I enjoy all of the different pitch types, you know. As you could tell with my tunneling and all the technique stuff. I'm a real nerd about that. But I would almost say with us doing a pitching special tonight, maybe next week we do a batting special.
Well, that's my specialty right there.
Yeah, I think that's both of our true specialties, but yeah, so I think we're gonna have to do that. It's only fair.
Yeah. Go one
Can't
hour.
give that much preferential treatment to one.
Of course. Gotta go both ways.
Hmm.
So before so this has been the Orange Crush.
And dues, and we'll see you next week for the hitting special of the Striped Sox pod.
And don't strike out this week.